Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. I believe, based on the reporting in Politico, the Los Angeles Times, whole bunch of publications, The Independent, Trump's enemies list, the political rivals and organizations, Politico, Trump promised to get revenge. Los Angeles Times, will Trump launch a reign against his list of enemies? Hit subscribe to this channel right now. You're going to hear Trump in his own words talk about the Department of Justice, a possible special counsel. To my super chat, thank you so very much. We have a goal of about 10 super chats or so, 15 or so. If we hit the goal, great. If not, no problem. I'm just happy that you're here. Hit subscribe to this channel. This is a topic that I'm going to investigate on this channel for a while, because when Democrats indicted Trump, they stated to the Supreme Court the fact that the indictment was leveled against him means that it was warranted. Okay, that's how the Supreme Court gave presidential immunity to Trump, because they rejected that absurd notion. But that's the way Democrats operate. They leveled indictments, they convicted him, and they said, well, obviously there was no political motive. The problem here is that there was a very likely political motive, in which case Trump can use the same statutes, the 18 U.S. Code 371 statute. I wrote about this in the Federalist. You can just type in H.A. Goodman Federalist. You can see the articles that I've written. He can use the same legal statutes against them. But hit subscribe to this channel. Let's get to President Trump in his own words.
Attorney General, what are you? We talked about how you fix the DOJ, how you bring justice back to this country. When we talk to people, people's faith in the system is shattered.
Yeah.
Absolutely shattered. We've seen it in your fundraising numbers.
It should be.
So who do you choose? What kind of? Do you have a name that you're top on your list?
I do have a couple, and one in particular. But I made a lot of good choices. I got that one wrong.
He just said he got the several attorney generals wrong. He has a couple of good choices. These are his words, not mine. I can kind of, I can interpret that the attorney general he has will be similar to Merrick Garland, except more along the lines of helping Trump. Merrick Garland was essentially Biden's attorney. And Merrick Garland went after the political opponents of Joe Biden and Harris and Democrats. That's why you had lawyers. That's why you had a bunch of people around Trump during his administration and after his administration indicted and convicted of things that they would never level at Democrats. The illegal activity, like I said, is the possible coordination between the Democratic Party, between media, the Democratic Party. It could be operatives within the U.S. government. For example, the Durham probe found that there were a number of government officials, or I should say also the Inspector General Horowitz found there were a number of government officials who despised Trump. Well, that's against the law, but they never took it to court. That's against the law. You can't use a government position to go after your political enemies. That's exactly what certain individuals did. The Horowitz report, the Durham probe, found that out. The only reason people weren't convicted is because government officials then went to bat for the same people that likely committed criminal activity. So it's a convoluted mess, but Trump is on the case. He has to play the James Brown song, The Big Payback, the James Brown Big Payback on continual loop.
I was very loyal to one because he was the first senator to endorse me. As soon as conflict came up, he ran for the hills. And actually, the second one, he ran for the hills. When he heard that he was going to be impeached, they were going to impeach him. and he was like a different person. I had to get rid of him. And I would say that was the one thing. One of the truly important positions is Attorney General. And I was very disappointed at both of those Attorney Generals. Jeff Sessions was...
Sessions was the worst Attorney General of all time. You had people like Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell investigating a Republican president. The worst example of politics, the worst, how do I say this? They joined Democrats, Paul Ryan, McConnell, and others joined Democrats, even Sessions, allowed Democrats to investigate a Republican president. Then they blamed Trump for losing Senate seats in Arizona and Georgia. You had sitting senators, one of whom I believe was in Arizona at one point, or actually two of them in Arizona, overtly against Trump. So what do you expect when you have your own political party? Are there any Democrats calling to investigate Hunter? No. So why were there Republicans calling to investigate Trump? Well, those Republicans are now fossils. They're now archaic, and they're basically extinct from the political party. That's why Liz Cheney was a detriment to Harris. She wasn't helpful in any way, but Democrats lacked the intellect to realize that.
You know, I don't blame myself too much. He was some position in Alabama.
By the way, to my super chat, Paul, thank you. Mika, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And also, Henry Mann, thank you.
And he wanted to be so bad. And he was the first senator to endorse me. And again, I was sort of a civilian. I didn't have a lot of people. I didn't know that many senators. And he went to a rally in Mobile. The fact is that we had 72,000 people, so it wasn't that big a shot. But he came to me and he said, I'd love to be Attorney General. And I didn't see it. And then he came 3-4 times. And I said, just out of loyalty, I did it. And he ran for the hills. Because it's nasty. This is a nasty business. This is a nasty world.
How do you find
and
these
Barr?
spine people
I know
in the future?
Barr was threatened. In all fairness to him, he didn't want to. He was Attorney General. He was a respected guy.
So he's saying they would have indicted Barr, just like they went after Giuliani, Stone, everyone around Trump. They would have also gone after William Barr. William Barr knew very well there was no collusion with the Kremlin. In fact, the Mueller probe proved that. The Mueller probe categorically proved the entire thing was a fantasy. There was literally zero evidence that Trump colluded with anyone. If anything, the evidence pointed to Democrats purchasing a Steele dossier from a foreign operative.
And they said they were going to impeach him. I understand that. I said, I got impeached twice and my numbers went up, which is unusual. I said, it's not so bad to be impeached. What are they going to impeach you? He had no idea what they were going to impeach. But he was going to be impeached. They didn't know what. They didn't know why. It's like they took me to trial. There's no crime. They were trying to devise the crime during the trial. That's how bad it was. But with Barr, and he let me down. He let me down. He let down our country. He endorsed me the other day, as you saw, right? But he let down our country. It takes a brave person to do it. People don't want to be impeached. They don't want to be indicted.
He has the popular vote. He has the Senate. He will have the House. And he has all of America behind him. And people are tired of the same quote-unquote resistance from Democrats. And they know, even people who are pretty much apolitical, and they just said, you know what, I'm voting Trump. They know that they went after him. They know Democrats and local prosecutors went after Trump. That's why media is painting it as Trump's enemies list. I'm quoting media, Politico. So if someone says, oh, well, you know what, he hasn't started a special counsel. Yeah, he pretty much has. The first year and a half of his presidency, maximum, he'll start hopefully in the first couple of months, but he's probably going to already... He probably has his attorney general, and the Attorney General will immediately, with the Senate can go ahead. He has the Senate, can confirm a special counsel. So if Democrats ran the Senate, it would be difficult. He technically doesn't need a Senate confirmation, but that's how the classified data case was thrown out, in addition to lack of evidence, in addition to the fact that Trump could declassify anything he wanted to as president. But they can get a special counsel through the Senate, and it's a, 4 or 5 seat, maybe 3 to 4 seat majority. And they're all Trump Republicans. Everyone's a Trump Republican now. He completely revitalized, transformed the Republican Party. So it's game over politically and legally for the people who broke laws. He's not going to just go after innocent people. That's what, it's being framed as. Oh my God, he's going to go after, he's an authoritarian. These are the same, Democrats who call Trump an authoritarian are the same people who worship the 50 intel officials who lied about Hunter's laptop. They're the same people who want to disarm you. The same people who want to silence your speech on Twitter. They're for censorship, disarming Americans, and sending Americans everywhere on the planet. The most militant political party today is the Democratic Party, not Trump's Republican Party.
By these scoundrels who are much more evil than people. I'm telling you, China and Russia, they're not the problem. We have a problem from within that's really bad. So he let us down. The key to really good government, where we had like Lighthizer and some of these people that were really good, it's the person that's at the top. If you get the right person, it's like magic. It's like in real estate, you put a good super in a building, the building runs well. You put a bad one in, it doesn't. It's the same thing at a little bit slightly larger scale. But we had great people. I rebuilt the military. We did things that were amazing. One of the things that the people that watch your show should know, we defeated ISIS quickly. I was told it would take 5 years. I did it in a matter of weeks, right? Fast. And they did it fantastically. And I got to know the real that person. But no, I'd fire them. I would fire them. You can't have woke military. You said it's so great. You need people that want to win. They want to win something. I didn't start any wars. I finished wars. I got out of Syria. I took our soldiers home. I would have moved a lot of them out of Germany. I was going to move them out of Germany. Not all of them, but I would have moved. We have 45,000. So that's what we do by doing that. We're giving Germany this massive shot in the arm, and then they don't treat us well on trade.
So he removed American soldiers from harm's way. He removed our presence militarily from places that we shouldn't be in anymore. That is why people voted for Trump. That is the foreign policy element of why. So when Kimmel and others cry about Trump's victory, the popular vote, Senate, House, everything, they don't realize that foreign policy is very important. This is like, I was accused by a number of people, you became a supporter of Trump for money. It's like, no, you lack the intellect. You lack the either the understanding of why people would want to vote for Trump, and so then you just accuse you through an ad hominem attack or just some kind of you accuse me of an ulterior motive because you can't possibly fathom why anyone would vote for Trump. There was a direct line, by the way, from 2016 Bernie Sanders to Trump, especially in terms of foreign policy. We also had record low poverty with Trump, record highs in household median income. Bernie Sanders was saying the same thing about immigration as Trump was in 2016. And so the people who say, well, why would you vote for Trump? Yeah, he wants to limit wars. He wants to he signed prison reform legislation. That is not the hallmark of an authoritarian, and it definitely correlates to formerly left-leaning ideology. The left now doesn't care about censorship, doesn't care about endless military quagmires. They care about their absurd, egotistical sensibilities. Oh, Trump is mean. He insults people. Well, they went after him in the most vicious, violent, sinister manner. And now he's going to go, and like I said, he's going to play James Brown, the big payback. I keep saying playback. The big payback. and he's going to play that on continual loop. It'll be 4 years of the big payback, James Brown's big payback.
We have a great military, and there's nothing woke about it other than those top guys. I used to watch Milley sit there in Congress and talk about, he's trying to understand this and that mind. I won't get into it, but certain minds, I say, is this guy crazy? But it's one of those things. I've gotten to know a lot of the generals because of the things we did. And we had some unbelievable wins, as you know. We had some wins with terrorists, the two biggest terrorists in the world ever slated. But if you get the good ones, it's like magic. And we had mostly good ones. You think more about the bad ones. We had some bad ones, too.
So you heard him there. He talked about his next attorney general. He's going to pick somebody who is going to go to bat for him. He will pick an attorney general who will eventually indict anyone, Republican or Democrat, that broke the law. What is wrong with that? Why are media and Democrats so petrified of Trump's revenge tour? Why are they? Because when they indicted Trump, they said, well, simply, and they indicted his attorneys. He broke the law. They broke the law. Well, okay. And so when Trump indicts people, they will have broken the law by virtue of having been indicted. That's how that argument was rejected in the Supreme Court. But that was the argument that Democrats leveled. They literally stated, well, Trump was indicted. And obviously it was apolitical. We would never be partisan or biased against Trump. We're just following the letter of the law. And Trump will say the same thing. I mean, if you play that game, if you want to play that game, well, now he has the popular vote, the Senate, the presidency. He's already stated on Fox News that he's going to get an attorney general that will do the same thing that Merrick Garland did, essentially. This isn't rocket science. So, I mean, why is it revenge with Trump, but it's the rule of law with Democrats? How does that work? How does that work? And it's like they're still so caught up in their own hubris and arrogance. They don't realize that it wouldn't be a revenge tour with Trump. It would be simply Trump's attorney general following the law and seeing, hey, did you collude with state and local officials if you're a political party? And if so, did you level indictments against Trump for political motive? If there's evidence of that, that's just one example. But here you have Trump. I mean, the Mueller probe now nobody talks about because it vindicated Trump, but this is what he had to go through.
If Mueller decides that he wants to subpoena you, the Attorney General, Whitaker, can block that. If Mueller issues a final report, he can decide how much goes to Congress or doesn't go to Congress. You tweeted this week about, quote, Bob Mueller and his gang of Democrat thugs.
Right.
If Whitaker decides in any way...
I just thank God he's not on Twitter, just because it gave fuel to Democrats. They run on indignation, but because he's on Truth Social, so he doesn't need it. But it's so refreshing to have somebody that actually speaks his mind, unlike the artificial intelligence robot of the average that is the average Democrat. It's like they're like AI robots. They just have software based on whatever they think people want to hear.
Way to limit or curtail the Mueller investigation. Are you okay with that?
Look, it's going to be up to him. I think he's very well aware politically. I think he's astute politically. He's a very smart person, a very respected person. He's going to do what's right. I really believe he's going to do what's right.
But you won't overrule him if he decides to curtail.
I would not get involved. And all these people that say, I'm going to end the investigation, they've been saying that now for, how long has this witch hunt gone on? It's gone on for what?
Since May of 17.
Okay, but how long have I been looked at? You know when I've been looked at?
Since July of 2016.
From the day I announced, I was looked at as a candidate with nothing, no proof, with phony people like McCabe and Strzok and his lover. You had Lisa Page, his lover. These people were looking at me. They wanted an insurance policy just in case I won or Hillary lost. And this was the insurance policy. It's a scam. There was no collusion whatsoever. And the whole thing is a scam.
Your team is
I mean, you couldn't have said it better than Trump. That's exactly what it was. So it's very likely that you have everyone from media to state prosecutors to federal government employees who broke laws going after Trump. I mean, there's at a certain point, you keep trying to indict Trump and find nothing, then you're probably entering illegal territory. You're probably so invested in imprisoning him that you yourself have broken the law.
Preparing written answers to questions about...
No, not my team. I'm preparing written answers. I'm the one that does the answer. Yes. Are they writing them out?
Yes.
Yeah, they're writing what I tell them to write.
Are they going to be submitted?
At some point very soon, yes. I've completed them.
So you are submitting...
And it wasn't a big deal. By the way, it wasn't a big deal. The questions were
I love that.
asked and answered. It wasn't a big deal. They make it like I had meetings for many, many hours. I got the questions. I responded. We wrote them out. I read them once. I read them a second time. We made some changes. That's it. They're very simple. You know why? I did nothing wrong.
Here's my question, though. You are submitting written answers to the special counsel about the issue of collusion, but not on obstruction of justice.
Well, there was no obstruction of justice.
So this is how sinister and diabolical, and it's almost also slapstick comedy. So they can't get Trump because it's a complete farce and absurd, nonsensical fantasy and hoax. So then they say, oh, it's true, we actually purchased a Steele dossier full of nonsense and lies where even Michael Cohen was suing BuzzFeed at one point. It's true that we couldn't find not even a shred of evidence that this man colluded, and that collusion led to even one person changing their vote from Trump to Clinton to Trump or whatever. They keep saying, oh, collusion. Not one person in 2016 altered their decision because of any Kremlin, activity, which had nothing to do with Trump to begin with. There was literally nothing he did with that country. Nothing. And then they grasp at straws. Oh, he got opposition research. What does that even mean? Oh, yeah, and so he won Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, just like this time around because of that. Then you had Comey, who wrote a letter stating that he would still investigate Hillary because he found classified data floating around on her servers. How do you transfer top secret intelligence on servers? Because of Umar Abedin's laptop, it's so convoluted, I even forgot. Umar Abedin had a laptop. Her husband, Anthony Weiner, Lord knows what he was doing on that laptop. These are all the good, morally superior, wonderful liberals. Anthony Weiner, Bill Clinton, former DNC chairman, all these people are wonderful, good people. They're all great people. We should definitely be lectured about morality by these. Oh, and one person who was, a duo with Biggie before his life was taken. He always told people to vote Democrat. All those people in Hollywood and the music industry who are like running for the hills now, they all say vote Democrat, including that person now in the news because of those parties. So spare me the nonsense. I'm so tired of, but anyway, the point is, if they broke the law trying to go after Trump, that's, how is that immoral, or how is that a revenge tour? How is that an authoritarian tyrant? I don't get it.
Let me, if I may, sir, just
I think
ask.
they probably agree with that. And all you have to do is look at Article 2.
Is that your final position, that there's going to be no sit-down interview and nothing, written or in person, on obstruction?
I would.
So I kind of got on my long-winded rant. So obstruction is the next attempt at using it's like a process crime. They're trying desperately to indict Trump. Okay, so they were trying desperately to imprison Trump. They created a fantasy. The fantasy, of course, had no evidence backing it. The Kremlin-Trump myth was the most absurd, ridiculous, nonsensical, Democratic Party-fueled hysteria, Red Scare nonsense that had not a shred of evidence. And then, because it was based on nothing, they then said, well, you obstructed. If you hadn't obstructed, we would have found out that you and Vladimir were lovers. But you obstructed. And it's like, okay, so then there was less obstruction with Trump than there ever was with Biden, or especially Clinton. Clinton, literally, her team destroyed evidence. Literally. And then they're like, oh, no problem. But again, you'd have to know a little something. Like if Trump had servers, Trump could never get away with what Democrats have gotten away with. If he had servers and he destroyed those servers or phones, you don't think the world would be outraged?
Say probably. I mean, I can change my mind, but probably. I think we've wasted enough time on this witch hunt, and the answer is probably. We're finished.
What are the odds? 1 in 100?
I don't do odds. I gave very detailed
casinos, sir.
You're right, and very successfully, actually. We gave very, very complete answers to a lot of questions that I shouldn't have even been asked, and I think that should solve the problem. I hope it solves the problem. If it doesn't, I'll be told, and we'll make a decision at that time. But probably this is the end.
Turkish President Erdogan says that he has shared a tape.
Should I? They said, you really shouldn't. There's no reason. I know everything that went on the tape without having to.
And what happened?
It was very violent, very vicious, and terrible.
At what point does a
month ago, you involvement in the war in Oklahoma City.
I said,
you said, pretend I'm
light on that.
Michigan.
His strength. It's not his.
Not thugs.
Right.
So, again, Politico, The Independent, Daily Beast, these are Trump's enemies lists. Well, why would he have an enemies list? Could they be people who broke the law? The notion that only Trump, if Trump indicts somebody, then it's pure political revenge. When he gets indicted, it's just completely apolitical. It's about the rule of law, and it's about democracy and every good, virtuous thing on the planet. That's a stupid, absurd, nonsensical, completely biased, partisan way of thinking. And that's the world that the Democratic Party created. Now they lost the House, the Senate. Well, they will lose the House completely. The Republicans will keep the House and add to their lead. You will have the Senate and with a comfortable margin of victory there. And then you have Arizona and Georgia in a couple of years when those are red states. Then you add even more to the Senate. Because we'll have a good economy with Trump and we'll have a very good foreign policy. Then we have 4 years of Vance. Because there's who's going to go up against Vance? AOC? I would love that. I pray to God that AOC runs for president. That'd be amazing. AOC Vance. And then Vance would get the popular vote by the same margin or possibly even more against AOC. But anyway, the point is they don't have anybody waiting in the wings, Democrats. So let's continue. So you saw what 5 years ago he had to deal with, 6 years ago. Now, fast forward to this year, and this is what he's had to deal with.
Thank you very much. I just want to say before we begin, these are all Biden trials. This is done as election interference. Everybody knows it. I'm here instead of being able to be in Pennsylvania and Georgia and lots of other places campaigning. And it's very unfair. Fortunately, the poll numbers are very good. They've been going up because people understand what's going on. This is a witch hunt, and it's a shame. And it comes out of Washington. It's in coordination with Washington, everything, including the DA's office. It's in coordination with Washington. I just want people to understand that this is done for purposes of hurting the opponent of the worst president in the history of our country. Second of all, we have another trial going on right now. That's Letitia James. She campaigned on the fact that I will get Trump. I'm going to get Trump. And it has to do with a bond of $175 million. First of all, she doesn't want me to participate with financial companies in New York. So we have a company, I guess, based in California. It's a bonding company. And I put up $175 million in cash. But she says the bonding company's not good. She doesn't like the bonding company because she doesn't know if the collateral is good. And I put up $175 million in cash, and she's questioning the bonding company. Well, when you put up cash, and the number is 175, which is what we're supposed to be putting up, but I give it in cash, she shouldn't be complaining about the bonding company. The bonding company would be good for it because I put up the money. And I have plenty of money to put up, but nobody is going to be putting up with this. Nobody is going to be listening or coming to New York anymore. Businesses are going to be fleeing because people are treated so badly. It's got to be the most unfriendly place to do business, and that's why businesses are leaving and people are leaving as migrants come in and take over our parks and our schools and everything else. So on the Letitia James case, she's the worst attorney general in the country, by the way. On Letitia, and she keeps a lot of business out of New York, and businesses that are here are leaving. And that means jobs and a lot of revenue. Somebody's going to step in, the governor, somebody has to step in and do something because your businesses are fleeing. But on Letitia James, the money was put up, it's $175 million. And I don't think she's complaining about me for the first time ever. She's complaining about the company. But why would she be doing that when I put up the money? So
if you try to indict Trump for political reasons, that is against the law. Can't do that. There's the 18 U.S. Code 371. They said, they used that against Trump, and they said he deceived the country because he knew that he wasn't cheated 4 years ago. You can look at the numbers and then just ask basic questions. What happened to all of those people, all of those Biden supporters suddenly didn't show up, 10 million or so? 8 million? They just didn't like Harris. Said, oh, they were the monster Trumper type of mentality that, oh, they're so biased. We'll use that term. Oh, so they didn't show up? What happened? Oh, that's right. Biden was the most popular candidate of all time. You would have to believe that, which, of course, I believe. I definitely believe that. I don't think there's anything wrong with those numbers. Of course, Biden was 80 plus million Americans popular, whereas Harris was, 10 million less popular. But Trump won the popular vote, ladies and gentlemen, and so then there's no stopping him. If you broke the law going after Trump and trying to desperately indict him on statutes that you would never use, if you don't use the statute against the Democrat, but you use the statute against Trump, that too is against the law. If it's so obvious that you're only working with a political party and an administration, that's against the law. You cannot try to imprison somebody running for president, which is what Democrats did, while at the same time calling Trump an authoritarian. So if you broke the law, Trump's special counsel will very likely indict you.
I just want you to know that that's taking place in front of an extremely crazed judge who's the most overturned judge in New York State. He was overturned 4 or 5 times on that case alone. That's, you know who it is. I don't have to mention names. I want to be nice. I want to be very nice. But a thing like that and a thing like what's going on right here should never be happening. It's a very, very sad day in America, I can tell you that. Thank you very much.
Let's just go back in time now. We went back in time, then to the present. Let's go back in time. This was when the Mueller probe first came out. The report first came out, and they found absolutely nothing. And then they will try to go after him for obstruction. This is also before, obviously, the attempts on his life, which, of course, there's zero investigative journalism on, and also the indictments and Stormy and all that.
Collusion, no conspiracy, no obstruction. It is official, everybody. America's political and media establishment has been dividing this country on the basis of a lie. And all because they won't accept the result of the 2016 election. Evening, everyone, and welcome to this.
When they said that they conceded in 2016, that is a lie. They only, for a moment, accepted reality. They never viewed him as a legitimate president. They used the word illegitimate all the time, and they said he was installed by another country. That is not a peaceful transfer of the presidency. President Obama using his intelligence agencies to go after Trump is not a peaceful transfer. Bush didn't investigate President Obama and use the same failed intelligence to go after President Obama, saying that another country wanted him. Any president can do that. President Trump could go ahead and do that for the next towards the next Democratic nominee, if they ever pick one in a normal fashion, like one that actually wins a primary and then actually becomes the nominee or becomes a candidate. Unlike Biden, who won his primary and then who Lord knows how he didn't face Trump. We still don't know how that happened, but anyway.
This special edition of The Next Revolution. President Trump back in the White House tonight, just hours after Attorney General William Barr released the conclusions of the Mueller report. And we are live in New York with our top team standing by to break it all down. Sarah Carter, Greg Jarrett, Lisa Booth, all here with me in studio. Ari Fleischer is with us. And joining us exclusively tonight, Trump 2020 Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. In a moment, I'll give you my opinion on all this, what it reveals about the rotten and corrupt establishment, the damage they've done to this country, and what must now be done to bring real justice and accountability to those who are guilty of dividing America and undermining the foundations of our democratic republic. See where I'm going with that one? But first, let's get the facts.
The facts are, and hit subscribe to this channel, by the way, if you're new, hit subscribe right now. The facts are there was zero, not even a shred of evidence with the Mueller investigation. Not even a shred, not an ounce of evidence, nothing. The intel reports were never read by Democrats. The same people who say, well, read the ODNI report, there's a DHS report. These are all assumptions. They're based on confidence levels. The Steele dossier was literally purchased by Clinton, her attorneys, and the Democratic Party. There was nothing wrong with the meeting that an Australian diplomat had with a Trump official. There was nothing wrong. They got people on lying to the FBI, number one, on things that had no bearing, things that did not pertain to any collusion, alleged collusion between Trump and another country. They got them on process crimes. So if you don't remember a date and you tell the Bureau a different date during an interrogation, that's a lie. You can go to prison for that, literally. And so they were so giddy and happy. Oh my God, we can go on forever. It just resulted in 8 years of J.D. Vance after Trump, because America's tired. They're tired of the lies and nonsense from the people who obsess and pontificate about truth and Trump lying. Nobody lied more than the Democratic Party and media. That's why trust in media is at an all-time low.
Attorney General William Barr sent his summary of the Mueller report to Congress about 3:30 Eastern Time today. Here's the letter. The key findings. Mueller did not find that President Trump, his associates, or anyone working on his campaign, quote, conspired or coordinated with Russia in its efforts to influence the 2016 election. No collusion. Mueller does not recommend any further indictments, and the Attorney General did not conclude that the president obstructed justice. However, the president was not exonerated by Mueller either, leaving it up to the Attorney General to make that judgment.
He didn't need to be exonerated. Trump did not need any exoneration. You don't, if you're accused of something you didn't do, you then don't have to be exonerated by anyone. So there was no evidence to begin with. That's it. They said that Trump colluded with another country installed Trump. This is their way of a peaceful transfer of power and conceding. These are the good, wonderful, classy Democrats who conceded, right?
In turn, the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General did conclude that there was no obstruction. So after all this, the subpoenas, the search warrants, the witness interviews, the endless...
Could you imagine if there were 3,000 subpoenas, 500 search warrants, 500 witness interviews, $35 million, but there were also millions of documents? Can you imagine if there were 3,000 demands for records during the Clinton email probe, during 4 years ago, with how Biden, definitely above board, totally legally wonderful, did not saying anything, my God, of course, it was so fair and just. Because you imagine if Trump was able to have a Mueller report type of investigation on how he lost to Biden 4 years ago, or how Clinton was able to transfer top secret intel and classified data onto servers from secure government locations, which is literally impossible to do. I mean, Democrats get away with infinitely more than Trump could ever have gotten away with, and he didn't get away with anything. The people who accuse Trump of breaking the law don't really know the law, and if they do know the law, they're using it in a petulant, malicious manner. They're saying, he was convicted of business records. The FEC dropped the case. New York can't convict anyone on a federal crime. It's a state. That's unconstitutional. So, I mean, I always said the Supreme Court was going to overturn it. The judge there in the court might actually drop the conviction, because there's almost certainly a question mark as to how the conviction was obtained.
Breathless Democrats and never-Trumpers screaming, tweeting, and promising indictment, impeachment, and even prison for President Trump. Guess what? Nothing. No collusion, no conspiracy, no obstruction. Here's how the president reacted.
It was just announced there was no collusion with Russia, the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. There was no collusion with Russia. There was no obstruction, and none whatsoever. And it was a complete and total exoneration. It's a shame that our country had to go through this. To be honest, it's a shame that your president has had to go through this before I even got elected. It began. And it began illegally. And hopefully somebody's going to look at the other side. This was an illegal takedown that failed.
We will get...
It was highly illegal, and they say, well, the Durham probe found nothing. The Durham probe was, Trump did not have the Senate. He didn't have the popular vote like he does now. He didn't have Trump Republicans in the House. And so the Republican Party was still, doing its best to sabotage Trump. Nothing he was accused of had any basis in reality. That alone is illegal. You can't just simply indict and go after people for no reason, which is what happened with the Mueller probe, which happened recently with the record, the FEC, the fantasy FEC crime that the FEC dropped. The FEC literally dropped the hush money case. See, again, nobody knows. Bill Maher and really wonderful, good, liberal Democrats, they don't know any of this stuff. They don't care. They don't care the Steele dossier was purchased by Democrats. They don't care that it would never happen. The reverse, Giuliani and Trump would never be allowed to purchase a dossier against Clinton or Biden. They would never. Trump's administration is not simply just going to go and try desperately to indict somebody. They're going to look at evidence. If somebody coordinated, if a government official or if a Democratic politician coordinated with a state prosecutor, or if the political party coordinated, for example, with a state prosecutor, that's against the law. That is against the law because you're influencing a state prosecution for political reasons. But if there's a political motive to go after your direct political rivals, which is what Democrats have done, they tried to get them off the ballot in Colorado, throughout the country. The Supreme Court rejected that also. So if you're doing things illegally and you're going after your direct political rivals illegally, that is much more of a crime than what they accused Trump of with Stormy.
This was an illegal takedown that failed.
We will get to some of those points tonight, I promise you. But here's how the Democrats reacted. Instead of cheering the fact that our president did not conspire with a foreign power to steal an election, they're attacking the Attorney General and calling everyone liars.
The president or his people are saying it's a total exoneration. That contradicts what the special counsel found. It's a lie about this, what the special counsel found, but we should not.
No, it's not a lie. The accusation was that he colluded and conspired with another country. That, of course, did not happen.
Be surprised that they lie anymore.
All right, let's break it all down with our top team tonight. The best people we could possibly have. I'm going to start with you, Sarah. What's your reaction to what we've heard today?
I'm not surprised at all, because for the last 2.5 years, well, I would say nearly 3 years, since we started looking at Hillary Clinton and what happened with James Comey and the fact that he exonerated her, I've been investigating this. And I know it seemed that every single story I had kept exposing people in the FBI and the DOJ. But the thing was, I couldn't find any evidence, even when I asked top officials like John Brennan and others, never found one shred of evidence or proof that there was any type of collusion or conspiracy with the Trump campaign in Russia. So today, I think, is definitely a vindication for the administration. It definitely feels good to know that truth is standing tall, and this is what the American people were looking for. And I think now it's time to move on. And as the president said, I think the important point here is that we don't let this slide by. We don't put it under a rug. It has to be investigated.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that, as I say, later in the show.
Sarah Carter is a brilliant, brilliant journalist.
But just to strengthen what you've just said, there's a really interesting line of detail here from the letter that hasn't received much coverage, but it's very important. The Attorney General says there was no collusion, and here's a quote: despite multiple offers from Russian-affiliated individuals to assist the Trump campaign. It's not just that there wasn't collusion. The Russians tried it, and they resisted it. Now, Greg Jarrett, sorry, we got to have a moment here. So here's your book. Here it is. The Russia Hoax. Did you ever think, I suspect you did, that it would be Robert Mueller?
I think he's ready for this conversation.
It was Robert Mueller that confirmed the accuracy of the title of your book.
Yeah. Collusion was always a hoax, and anybody who actually cared to examine in depth the facts, the evidence, and the law inexorably came to that conclusion.
All Trump has to do, if he wants to play the same game that Democrats created, is have Trump's intelligence chiefs can say that a Democratic congressperson or candidate in 2028, that we have the intel agencies under Trump believe that another country conspired and worked with the Democrat. And then you know what? They can start a special counsel, and that would be the precedent is the Mueller probe. And why would there be any outrage? Oh, because the same thing they did to Trump would be done to them. So the arrogance and the hubris and just the narcissism of the average, of not the average, I say many morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats who were beautiful people normally, when it comes to this tribalism regarding politics, they don't realize that if you live by lying and accusing Trump of everything under the sun, that you yourself also can be lied about, or you can be accused of things you didn't do. You can have intelligence agencies accuse you of things you didn't do. Okay? Democrats take they take the word credible and they put it before the accusation. It's a credible accusation. It's credible because it benefits you politically. It benefits you in your ideology or your quest to destroy your political rival. But there was nothing credible about any allegation against Trump. And that's not just limited to the Mueller probe.
But the media, the mainstream media, refused to do any of those things. They simply assumed that Trump must have somehow stolen the election by hatching a plot in the bowels of the Kremlin with Vladimir Putin.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you have just an example. I'll be doing more investigation of this and more, more work on this. And so basically, this is Politico. This is The Independent, the Daily Beast. They're talking, I'm using the reporting of left-leaning or mainstream left-leaning publications. They're the ones reporting this. This is in the news. And it's not really a revenge tour against his enemies. It's simply looking at people if they committed crimes. Because the way Democrats justified what they did to Trump was, well, he committed a crime. What's the problem? So if you committed a crime, if there were people that committed crimes going after Trump, working with a political party, for example, which is a criminal act, you can't influence a state prosecution for political reasons. That's a criminal act. There are statutes, obviously, against that. That's a crime. Okay? There are probably other things also that we can get into. But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. The first thing he's going to do is get an attorney general, nominate an attorney general, and he has the Senate. So the Senate will confirm his attorney general, and he can get the attorney general he wants. He's not dealing with the Democratic Senate. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new. God bless you. To my super chat, thank you so much. I'll be back. I'll try to do a live stream earlier in the day tomorrow. Watch the channel, hit subscribe, and thank you.